You're listening to the Hunt Suburbia podcast. I'm your host, Pat Guyette. Big bucks I've been dreaming often, every night till I'm in a coffin. Vermont woods to the burbs of Boston, I'm looking for a tree to get lost in. Crisp mornings, little dust in the snow. Quality time, just me and my bow. Fall evenings, I know just where to go for some quality times for me and my bow. It's just me and my bow. All right, this week we sit back down with Tyler McKelman Forbes. He was on the podcast early on before he had ever even killed a deer or got into a tree stand. So he gives us an update on his really great season he had this year, and he also brought along Brandon Ashford. I've heard a lot of great things about him. He's a really good hunter. I had to pull some words out of him, here and there throughout the podcast, but he's a great guy. And we talk a little bit of deer hunting and then get into a little bit of predator hunting. We talk about stuff like what to do when somebody might be encroaching into your spot and maybe you've heavily scouted it, how to handle those types of situations. We talk about a lot of everything, so we'll just get right into it. Hope you guys enjoy it. All right, another episode of Hunt Suburbia, and got repeat guest Tyler.
What's going on, Pat? Thanks for having me again.
McKelman, I always forget.
McKelman Forbes.
And we got Brandon Ashford. Thanks for coming, guys.
How's it going? Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Brought some coyote pelts with you. You've been killing some coyotes this
Been trying. It's pretty difficult with the baby, so.
Yeah. So how old's your baby? 5 months?
5 months.
Yeah. And so mine's 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, just put them down. Is it your first?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Super difficult to hunt, but get out when I can.
Yeah. Yeah, well, something tells me you're gonna get out plenty.
Well, it was super good because during deer season, she was still home on leave. Mm-hmm. So I was hunting every day.
Yep. TJ Mello that I interviewed a couple weeks ago, he was telling me, he's like, "Oh, you got to plan your babies around hunting season." I was like, "Yeah, that's what I did." I told my wife, we can't have any babies born in November, and TJ said, "No, that's the exact opposite. Your babies need to be born in November."
Oh yeah.
Because then you can go out, you take your paternity leave, and you can go out every single day.
Yep, absolutely.
And I was just like, damn, that's savage.
Yeah, I was super fortunate that she was like, just go.
When was your baby born? Was
September 11th.
Oh, September 11th.
Yeah. Your wife's great, though, so she knows what you do.
Yeah.
How old are your kids, Tyler?
So Beckett is 2.5, he'll be 3, and then Rosalina just turned 1 in November, so this year, man, my wife was great. She super supportive of everything I do. This being my first full year hunting too, she was totally for it. I think I got out 67 times this year. 67 sits. Yeah, it was good.
I wish I counted how many I got too, because
I've never counted. I've never done any login or anything. It's like this kid's first year, and he's like, I got 350 hours.
Dude, he's the scouting. He's the statistician of hunting.
Yeah,
he's bringing all the stats in.
Will you stop it? You're making a fool of us.
I know. Yep.
I love that, though. I still got to see that spreadsheet. Last time he was here, he had the spreadsheets up. He was showing us everything of all the pictures and of all the deer that he got and what the wind was doing that day. And
big target buck wonder.
And then guess what? So there's some updates since Tyler was on. At that point, he'd never shot a deer. He'd never even got into a tree stand before. And what happened this year? Give us a quick update.
Yeah. So this year. Basically, this year was everything I did not expect to happen, really. I didn't really know what to expect going into my first full year hunting. I kind of was hoping to see deer, really. I just wanted to see deer. I mean, I didn't really think about harvesting a deer. I have never killed a deer before in my life. I didn't really know even how to do that. So I was able to fill my buck tags in mass. I was able to take a doe, and it was an unbelievable year. And it started off, my first kill was a doe. My second kill was a small 6 with a broken tine for a 5. And then I finished the year December 1st with a nice big 9.
You just graduated every started with it. It's like that's it. You couldn't write it any better, right?
No, it's crazy how it really worked out like that. And not to mention, I mean, I did miss in between that 6 and that 9-pointer. Before I killed the 9, probably 2 weeks prior to that, I missed twice on a 10-pointer. On a sit. I remember texting Brandon.
On the same sit?
No, it was the day after I killed my 6. I went to that same spot. I just had a feeling. It's a nice piece of private property that my mother-in-law owns. So I was just like, I'm gonna go back there. They're funneling through here. It was at that time, I think it was November 10th, November 11th, I think maybe. So the rut was kicking off. It was good. Like, I'm going to go back. So I went back early. I got out there like 5 a.m. I sat in the dark for like an hour. And then right around like 8:30, and I have a video of this. I've posted it on the the platforms on Facebook and whatnot and the pages. But he came from my right down off a ridge, and he just stood right there. He was eating some acorns, doing his thing. And then he came right in front of me. I ranged him at 26 yards. 26 yards, Big 10. And, he stopped in front of me. There was a little sapling in front of him, and I smoked the sapling. He had no clue what happened. Like, absolutely no clue. He just stood there, and I'm shaking in my boots. I mean, still beginner, no clue what the heck's going on.
Sometimes it's pretty crazy how that happens, right? I bet you've seen that before. Like, They're just like, they have no idea, even with a gunshot.
He had no clue, like zero clue. And then he came in to like 23 yards, stopped. I was able to grab another arrow, knock it, and he started walking away from me. I was able to get him to stop at like 29 yards, took another shot, missed again. At that point, I just kind of packed it in, took my camera out, and started filming. He had, again, no clue what happened. So I don't even know if this deer's ever even heard.
You have this on film, though?
Oh, yeah, I have it on film. Yeah, he just walked right off.
You haven't put it out?
I put like bits and pieces of it out. Brandon's seen the whole thing, but yeah, I mean, I hit the sapling. He stood around for like a minute and a half, came closer, then walked away, stopped him, took another shot, missed over his back, and he just walked away like nothing happened. When I got home, I was like, what the hell happened? There had to have been I'm a beginner, but I've been shooting every day. I'm like, that just didn't make sense. I mean, that's kill zone right there. So I ended up looking at my sight. Brandon helped me drag my 6-pointer out the day before.
Yep.
That's right.
And I had my bow with me. And dragging that, I mean, it's pretty thick where we were. It's all hilly and stuff like that. Dragging the 6 out, I think my bow smoked the side of a sapling or a tree on the sight. Because when I got home after I missed that 10, I'm looking at my sight. I'm not making excuses.
Was it loose?
It was loose. Yeah, it was off by like an inch and a half.
Oh, my God, dude.
So, I mean, it is what it is. I was able to get the 9-pointer December 1st, and, I mean, that's a story for, in itself. But super blessed here.
So, is that, did you put any of that footage up on your, we should talk about also your YouTube page, Respond to the Call Productions, right?
Yeah, so me, Brandon, and our buddy John, Brandon and John are both firefighters, and I'm a police officer. And we also have Ethan, who's also a police officer in New Hampshire, which is kind of a cool story how I even got hooked with that kid. But
yeah, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, that could be another podcast with him, but that was pretty cool. But regardless, we did Respond to the Call Productions, and the reason we came up with that name is because we're always responding to the calls. We're first responders, and we all share a passion for hunting.
Yeah.
So we kind of were like, of course, we came up with this idea at the end of the season. So we already had all our harvests.
Well,
I've had this idea since I was a little kid. I've always wanted to film. I've always watched these hunting shows, and it's like, man, I'd love to do that.
Yep.
But I never had like friends my age. I've always hunted with my dad.
Who wanted to do it, plus like...
Yeah, I've always hunted with my dad, and it's like, Dad, you want to film with me? He's like...
I don't want none of that shit on.
Yeah, I want to fill my freezer and go to bed.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean?
So me and Brandon, Brandon and John, we grew up together. We've been friends since like first grade, and throughout high school, middle school, all that stuff. Brandon was always hunting during hunting season, like
right.
all the time. Not to mention he was a archer and competitive archer and whatnot. So we always thought like Brandon was super weird because he'd be out in the woods for like 5-6 hours. We're like, we wanted to kind of hang out and party and do it, do what kids do, and he's out there hunting all the time.
Meanwhile, he thought you were weird. He's like, why are these kids?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. Brandon's been doing this forever. So he's been I think I even mentioned Brandon's name on the first podcast I was on. He's a huge mentor to me, and we talk all the time. Yeah. Outside of being friends, just talking hunting. And
but now that now that you're into hunting, like super into it, like, don't you wish that you back in high school you were hunting with him and doing, you know what I mean?
I wish that's how it was because you know what I mean. I hunted by myself with just my dad or whatever, and it's just like, man, I wish more of my friends grew up doing it. And
it's just like thinking of like the what ifs. You know what I mean? Like if we were hunting together since like middle school and high school, like we're in our 30s now. What could it be? You know what I mean? Here we are. We started responding to the call.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, what if we started that in high school? Like, who knows where it could be?
Yeah, you guys would have been ahead of the game.
Yeah, it's all what ifs, but...
But I even think about, like, I've been a serious hunter my whole life. What I thought was serious until, I know there's extra levels to it, but...
Oh, for sure.
Like, my whole life, there were 5 weekends of the year that, forget it, if you asked me to do anything, it's nope, I'm in the woods. But it was only, like, weekends. And then, in the last decade or so... I would take off the first week of rifle season or something, and I would hunt. I would take that all off just to hunt Vermont, where you can get one buck during rifle season. So, like, I wasn't thinking strategically about anything. I could have killed a buck on the first day, and then I have that whole week, and I wasn't going to hunt anywhere else. And, just thinking back on, like, now that I'm into it like I am now, if I was doing that the last, 10, 15 years...
Oh, yeah.
Just thinking about all the bucks I missed out on,
Yeah, right. I mean, I think about that too. I mean, my dad, I just met my dad 3 years ago. My biological father 3 years ago. We talked about this on the first podcast too, and he's a huge hunter. I mean, his room's insane with mounts and Euro mounts and whatnot. And just to think like, if we were, if we had the relationship we have now back then, like it could be completely different too.
Yeah.
It's definitely in my blood because I love it. I'm hooked.
Yeah, but don't dwell too much on the past, because we've got it good right now, and we've got many great years of hunting ahead of us. How old are you guys?
31.
Yeah,
I'll be 31 next month.
Yeah,
I'm 31.
I'm 33. So we're in prime hunting time, prime hunting ages. Looking at some sheds over there. So, have you guys both been out shed hunting this year?
Yeah, I'll probably put in like 10, 15 miles.
Yep.
Nothing crazy, but
probably me too.
Every chance I can.
Yeah.
I'll put like 3 miles in behind my house.
And see nothing.
I don't shed hunt.
Yeah.
I say I'm gonna do it every year and do all this mapping and stuff, and it never happens.
So what's like?
Never happens.
I went out for the first time. I don't know, 3 or 4 days ago. I showed you guys the pair that I picked up, but. Once I saw blood for the first time shed hunting, and that's what's great about the snow. Snow can also bury sheds, and if it's super deep, then it sucks walking through it, and you don't want to push deer too much. But I went out to this place that wasn't too far off a road, that I've been honing in on, straight up suburban hunting for next year. I only found it December 20th. Like, after I tagged out both my bucks, I started, like, immediately exploring new places. And doing kind of some mid-season doe patrol, but scouting and not really caring if I, get a doe or not. Found this spot. So I was like, all right, that's a perfect place to go, not push too hard and look for a shed. And I found a drop of blood and then a couple drops, and I was like, dude, this is sweet. It kind of like brought me right into deer hunting season again, cool. Where it's like, all right, now I'm on a track, and I'm going to backtrack this blood. And that's what I did, and I backtracked it, and it got close to one of my cameras, and so I was like, all right, and I was talking with Pat Burns, and he's like, just make sure you check your camera. If everything's still holding there, then just get out. You don't want to push any of those deer out, keep them in the area. So I went and checked the camera, and I knew the blood was like hooked around the bottom of this hill where the camera was. But I was like, I'll go check the camera. Popped it into my phone, and I see 2 bucks fighting like straight away. Like one of the first videos on there was 2 bucks just locking horns, and I was like, dude, this is sweet. I want to see what everybody always hopes to see is like one of them just fall off during the fight. I didn't see that, but the very next video after they fought, it was the same 2 bucks, but one of them was bald. I didn't see them falling off, but I was like, oh, dude. So I know right where those walked right down there, and nice set.
That's
But
awesome.
like seeing a drop of blood, that got me like, I don't know how long the snow is going to last, but the next few days after that, I've been going out at least for an hour and just looking for blood. Yeah. But I haven't seen another drop. So I talk about it all the time. One thing that is awesome about hunting is that there's so many different ways that you can hunt. You can always keep your hunt fresh by using different weapons or hunting in different seasons. Some state has an early season, some have a late season. You can hunt a buck here and a doe there, and a Saturday here and a Sunday there. Well, one of the easiest ways to change up your hunt, if you haven't got into muzzleloader hunting yet, muzzleloader is a great way to extend your season. In New Hampshire, it's early, before the rifle season, before the bow season. In Vermont, it's late, it's at the end. But muzzleloader hunting is awesome. And so I'm super excited to announce a partnership with Woodman Arms muzzleloader. This muzzleloader actually shoots like a rifle too. And the coolest part about Woodman Arms is they recommend that you not clean your gun. You don't need to clean this thing. If you're using Blackhorn 209 powder, you don't need to clean it. Yeah. Now muzzleloaders are the messiest guns out there. You're shooting powder that's either loosely packed or in a pellet, and just imagine lighting that thing on fire in there. It's an extremely messy thing, but with the Woodman Arms, the way they build it, you don't need to clean that muzzleloader. That's number one selling point in the world. But once you hold this thing, it feels like a rifle. It just feels right in your hands. It's got a hammerless action, so there's absolutely no hammer on the gun. It's got a crossbolt safety. It feels like you're carrying your 7600 through the woods. I'm extremely excited about this partnership. They're making me a gun right now. Throughout the summer as I'm shooting it and into the fall and getting ready, I'll report back on how it shoots. But you don't have to look any further than all the reviews and all the really great hunters in the Northeast and across the country. Really, they're selling all over the country because they're the best muzzleloader in the country. Look at what everybody else is saying about this gun. That's enough for me to endorse it without ever shooting one. But I can't wait to shoot one and follow up with you guys and tell you how it is this summer, this fall. For now, go to woodmanarms.com. Check them out. You can build your own custom gun right there. Call Timmy Bolduc, who was on this podcast and is a good friend of mine, and he'll tell you anything that you need to know about the gun. Woodman Arms, America's most accurate and dependable muzzleloader on the market, handcrafted in New Hampshire. Go to woodmanarms.com and start building your gun today.
Yeah,
I said, I want to do it every year, and never happens. Never does.
I've put in
Well, because you're coyote hunting.
Yeah, but I only started coyote hunting 3 years ago, so it's like...
All right.
See,
cold weather and trudging through the snow is like...
Yeah. Shed hunting for me, it's just, I don't know. It's something to get out of the house. I bring the boy.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask. Do you bring Beckett yet? Or?
Yeah, so Beckett loves shed hunting. He'll come out with me and he actually walks, and it's just he hates being held, so he'll walk. So it takes a lot longer to get ground, but it's a blast being out there with the little boy, and he loves feeding the deer, and we got a bunch of feeders set up and whatnot on our private property, and man, he loves it. He loves it. He cries when we leave. He's pissed. So it was actually funny. And before I even came here tonight, he said, he's like, Dada, make sure he basically told me, he's like, on the podcast, make sure you mention my name. So I had to throw him a little clout right there.
Funny.
But yeah, he loves it. He loves it.
Yeah, he's gonna be right into it, man. That's great. That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit. Let's do some coyote hunting talk, because I don't know much about it. I've been an incidental coyote hunter. I've seen coyotes, during deer season, as many people do. With a bow in my hand, I've never shot at one. I don't know why. I have this thing where it's like, as I got older, when I was younger, I shot at coyotes. I missed them, but with my rifle, I was shooting at them, and I don't have any sympathy for them really. But for some reason, I'm just like, I don't know. Why am I going to kill that coyote? So this has always been an interesting thing for me. I think I still would kill a coyote, and especially if it's going to gain me permission on some properties. There's a couple properties around here where, they're pretty prime properties to get permission on, and I've knocked on doors, and one particular lady was like, "Yeah, there are people who hunt here, but the deal was they got to kill coyotes every year if they're gonna be, get the privilege to hunt deer here.
Yep.
And they haven't brought me a coyote in like 5 years." And I was like, "Well, let me know, because I'll be a coyote hunter, right? Real quick. You know what I'm saying?" So.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I don't know. It runs by me with a bow in my hand. I had 2 or 3 coyotes within range this year, and I just didn't take a shot. I don't know what it is, but
It's not going to ruin your deer hunt.
no,
Send it.
it's probably part of it. Yeah, where it's like I know there's deer around. I don't really want to like ruin it, but also it was just like, man, that looks like a fucking dog, which it is. It's a dog, right?
For sure.
But tell me your thoughts on
I'd never coyote hunted until 3 years ago, but if I was deer hunting, I'd always shoot a coyote. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's just,
yeah.
But I never.
Did you ever have deer come in after you shot a coyote?
Yeah, it's not gonna bother them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just.
They probably come in and celebrate.
But it's just, I started coyote hunting 3 years ago when I shot a buck across the street from my house. We had to leave it overnight. The next day when we went to go find it, it was completely cleaned out. Like, completely.
Yep.
Not even nothing. Just cut the head off and carry it out of the woods. Nothing. So that's when I was like, oh.
Yeah, and that definitely.
We got a lot of coyotes where I live, so it's just
Yeah.
like, time to start hunting them. And I started getting on the pages, like Mass Predator Hunter and stuff, and it's like, it's a lot of fun. So much fun.
Yeah, it looks like, I think it was.
And I run only at night, so I went and spent a whole bunch of money on like thermals and stuff, and it's so much
that
fun.
video, I saw a video on one, I think,
Dude, it's
is
so
it
much
Respond
fun.
the Call?
Yeah.
Like a headshot.
Oh my, it just looks like, freaking, you're in a war zone and you're watching some war footage,
Dude, it's so much fun.
That is really cool. How'd you film that?
Through the scope. It records. It's digital.
Oh, the scope records?
Oh, yeah. It's all electronic.
Damn, that thing,
Yeah.
that's got to be a pretty penny.
Yeah. But it's a lot of fun.
But that's really cool.
It costs money to have fun sometimes, so it is what it is.
Yeah. Wasn't it I think you got 2 coyotes at the same time on that.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, I got a big run that crosses the street of my house, and it's just... Did you see that video on my page?
I don't know. Which one?
It's got 6 coyotes in it at once.
No.
Dude, I got so many coyotes behind my house. It's like a big, like, wetlands, and it's...
So have you ever heard the theory that, and I forget where, but for every coyote you kill, they adapt
multiply.
and then they have more pups the next litter to make up for it.
More targets?
But is that? Do you think there's anything to it?
I guess I've talked to some...
Because
I've talked to some big predator hunters, and you'll never get rid of them.
Yeah.
Because they're already littered, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like hogs down south, you're never going to get rid of them. Because they just multiply.
Well, and it's like deer too, but obviously we don't want to get rid of deer, but
you'll never get
the
rid of
deer. They adapt to everywhere.
Yeah.
The same way the coyotes do.
Yep.
Todd White said it best to me the other night. He said, for every... What did he say? He said, you're never going to get rid of coyotes, but what's going to happen is you're just going to get new faces every year. He said
sure.
it perfect. He said you're not going to get rid of them, you're just going to get a new face.
Yeah.
I think at this point you wouldn't get rid of any wildlife.
I mean, it's like taking out a freaking dictator in a country too, right? You got this like geopolitical shit where it's like, oh, you take out Saddam Hussein, then something else happens, right? Somebody comes in and fills the void, and it could be worse. It could be better for a little while, but you don't really know where it's gonna end up.
Yeah. There's always someone or something to fill the shoes. Always.
Yeah.
Like we were talking mountain lions and shit earlier. They used to inhabit this area.
They did.
And wolves and shit back in the day, they used to inhabit, and now they're not. So you need a new predator. Coyotes are a predator, but we are the top predator now for sure. Like we step into that regulation role,
right,
to keep the deer populations in check.
Yeah.
But
I don't think we can do that either.
I don't think we can, but
not out here. Western Mass.
Yeah.
Is not as much, but out here, no way.
Yeah. No, I mean, in suburban areas, it's so hard to...
Well, they get to hug the houses and feed off the foundation plants. It's
right.
Never going to kill them all.
That's another thing I love about late season scouting, and when there's a lot of snow, just getting out for a walk, is you see what they're doing, and really, like, right now, they're so close to houses.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're going in and out of everybody's backyard and eating whatever green they can find.
But you're only seeing that because of the snow, but they're always always here.
Right, for sure.
They're always hugging your house, and they're protected because the coyotes are not gonna hammer them out here at the house. So
yeah,
it's amazing. I mean, I work a 3 to 11 shift as on patrol, and I mean I do a lot of my scouting while I'm at work. Which is definitely a benefit of the job.
I think a lot of cops, because you work, and it's like nice to work the night shift because that's when the deer are out. You get some nice buck sightings, right?
Yeah, I mean,
we got some pretty big lights on our fire trucks. I'm pretty sure we do some scouting when we get on a call at night.
Yeah.
But you guys aren't patrolling constantly.
No, I wish.
Oh man, I'm out there.
Imagine if you're rolling around in your fire truck.
Anytime there's an overtime shift that's available, I bounce on it in a second because it's just, I mean, I will, I'm lucky to be in a great town where there's great deer. So going back to like the deer hugging tight, it's amazing. 11 o'clock at night, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, the deer are basically on the road. I mean, and I'm not saying like little does. I mean, there's some monsters.
You know how many texts I've gotten at 1 o'clock in the morning? Hey, you up right now? No, you're up.
Yeah, like I'm the only wacko up, but there are monsters out there. I mean, deer that it's just like, I'm like, wow. And so I jump on all those overtimes anytime I can because it's just, I use it as scouting. And actually, the 9-pointer that I took this year, I killed that 9-pointer within 24 hours of seeing it.
Oh, you saw him on patrol?
So I was on patrol the night before. It was that really windy, sleety storm, early December, the December 1st, and I'm driving down this like construction property, and we were doing an area check. So I got my spotlight out, I got my scene lights out, and I'm just I'm just making sure everything looks good, including the deer. So I'm just kind of, looking around, and I saw this monster buck, what I thought was a monster at the time. I'm like, oh man, he's big. He was bedded down under a small pine. So I'm like, okay. And I know that specific pine area, like a bunch of does have been bedding in there just from doing my checks. So I saw him, and I stayed on him for like 5 minutes with the spotlight, just seeing what he was doing and whatnot. And he stood up. I saw him turn his rack, and I have video of it. I can show it to you on the break and whatnot. And then he just took off. So I'm like, I need to get permission in here immediately. Very next morning, I had a training in Middleborough. On my way to Middleborough.
How'd you get permission so early?
Yep. Right, so I was working the overnight, and then I had training from 7 a.m. in Middleborough till 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So on my way down 495 to Middleborough, I find out the owner of the property. He's an owner of a construction company, a GC. I give him a call. I could not get a hold of him. I end up getting a hold of his brother, who's the VP of the company. So, I mean, I was just like,
you turned into like the best cold call salesman of all time. Like, I gotta keep following.
And I've been, I mean, you can ask Brandon, I've been super lucky with like private property calls and kind of have a way. I've been super fortunate.
Do you introduce yourself like I'm a police officer? I feel like that would be an easy way to get some permission, like, or an in anyway.
I've always just said that this kid could make a vegan eat a steak.
Yeah.
Like
he's got to be a salesman.
It's been like that. It's been like that since he's been a little kid. It's just like he can talk anyone into doing something.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll throw the cop line up, but you gotta be careful because some people don't even like cops.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a catch-22.
Welcome to 2021.
Yeah, so I kind of I kind of get a feel out first, and then I go from there. But on this particular event,
everybody likes firefighters, though. What's up with that?
They're heroes, dude. They're the heroes.
We got some jokes, but we'll keep
we'll keep off the air. But so anyway, I'm continuing to my training, and I make the call, and I'm talking to the owner's son, and at this point in time, I do let him know I am a police officer because I am in the town. I am making sure his property is safe, and we're not doing area checks while they're doing construction. So I'm like, hey, do you mind if I hunt your property? He's like, well, when do you want to go out there? I'm like, today. And he's like, how do you hunt? I'm like, well, I'm just archery only. I'm only asking for permission to go out there with my bow and see what happens. He's like, go for it. I'm like, all right. I'm like, well, what about your dad? He's like, go for it. I gave you permission. All good. I'm like, all right, sounds good. I got out of training at 2. I made it back to that location by like 3:15. I was in my stand by maybe 3:35, 3:40. I specifically remember taking a video I was texting Brandon. I was texting my buddy Nate August from Crimson Pursuit Outdoors. Bunch of people. And actually, Pat Burns was a huge help in this hunt. And Jake Bennett was a huge help in this hunt.
How so? Just like telling you where to set up?
So, I mean,
how did you set up on this hunt? You only drove by and saw the deer bedded?
Yeah, so I saw the deer bedded, and I saw where he went. And the way he went...
So you spooked him when you were doing your check, or no?
No, it wasn't really a spook. He just kind of walked off. But where he walked off towards a very busy road, which I know... From working, they bed along that area right there. There's like a little ridge and a swamp area.
Yep.
So Burns, Jake Bennett, and Brandon, and Nate, both, I mean, you all said the exact same thing. Basically, those are guys that I trust with everything, hunt-wise. I know that if I let them know where I'm hunting, they're not going to be there the next morning hunting. So I trust them.
No, just a week later.
Yeah. So those guys are great. So they all said, hey, you should set up right here. If you saw him here and he went there, you should set up here. So I legit set up exactly where they said. That buck rolled in at 4:15 p.m. And he came
an hour after you set up.
Yeah, less than that.
Yeah.
45 minutes after. He rolled in. 2 smaller bucks, a nice 6 and a nice 4, came over the ridge from the swamp. And I'm like, all right, well, that's nice. Legit a minute later, that nice big 9 comes over. And my bow was to my left. They were to my right. And I just remember, I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I wasn't breathing. I was just like, oh, man, what am I going to do? I ended up doing a 360 in my stand super quietly, grabbed my bow, was able to come back across to my right. 27-yard shot. I smoked a 9-pointer, and he went 52 yards. I heard him take his last 2 breaths. He dropped. I wasn't 100% sure if it was him dropping or if it was the other bucks taking off too. Called Brandon, my dad, my buddy John, and we tracked him like an hour and a half later, and he was like 52 yards away.
So there's a couple things to take away on that then. You scouted, you saw a deer the night before, a buck that you wanted to kill,
Yep.
and you went through a bunch of stuff. You immediately found out who the landowner was and made calls the next morning, and you had to get out there that night to kill that buck. I mean, you probably could have gone back later, but you know he was in that area, right? So you went through all of that stuff, and then how did you actually hone into the specific spot that you picked out, though? You took all their advice, and what was the advice specifically?
So for me, I knew where those bucks were coming from. I knew where the main road was. I knew there was a swamp, and I knew there was pines. And I had a general area from those guys of where I should set up. So when I got in there right off the dirt road, I immediately started looking for sign. I'm like, all right, where's sign?
Yeah.
So I found some feeding sign.
You're hunting with a climber or what at this point?
I was a climber, yep. So I was looking for feeding sign. I was looking for scrapes and rubs. I saw a nice set of rubs, and then there was a nice big scrape. And at that point, I'm like, all right, I need to just set up here. But I was just trying to find the right tree to get up my climber quietly and quickly. I ended up finding a tree that I went up, and it worked out perfect. And I mean, those bucks came right in and over the ridge, and it was great. And actually, our first video that we filmed on Respond to the Call Productions was a kill shot by Brandon on a doe out of that exact same tree.
All right, quick announcement. Heron Hill Winery is back. They really appreciated what we did for them last year, the first 4 months of the podcast. I appreciate what they did for us, which was give us a little bit of money to pay for the equipment that we use for this podcast. And if you enjoy this podcast, you want to see it keep going, what we need to see is y'all supporting the sponsors. So support Heron Hill Winery. If you're buying wine, don't go down to the store. You can do it on heronhill.com. Order whatever you want. They got a wide array of wines, and it's free shipping for anything that's 6 bottles or more. So you really can't beat that. And if you're a first-time buyer, use code HS5 for Hunt Suburbia 5, and you'll get an additional 5% on the first buy. After that, it's going to revert back to just what their volume discounts are. But every time you order, we're going to get credit for it. And that's going to help us keep a long-term sponsor happy, keep producing amazing content for you guys week after week. We're going to get better video equipment eventually. We're going to expand what we're doing for content. So it's not just the podcast, but if you love the podcast and you love wines, or your wives or your girlfriends love wines, somebody around you does, get it for great gift. Use code HS5 at checkout if you're a first-time buyer. If you're repeating as a buyer, just go on there and order up, and we're going to get credit for it. And I really appreciate you guys supporting the sponsors. They appreciate it. Heron Hill, the official wine of the Hunt Suburbia podcast. Go to www.heronhill.com and use code HS5 for an additional 5% off your first purchase. If you're going back as a repeat buyer, you'll get their volume discounts. And just make sure your first time you're using code HS5 so that they know that we sent you. Thanks for the support.
Like a week later.
It's just a sweet spot because there's oaks there. The place was always torn up.
Always torn up. So it was just.
We went back there when there was snow on the ground. It was just the same thing, just completely shredded.
Just shredded. And I mean, the only advice I really have is like, you see a nice buck. I mean, get on that buck quick. I think because you never. That may not even be as that could. That buck may not have been living there. You could have just been there during the the end of the rut and looking for hot does. And
that's the thing. He was with two other bucks, so there was a hot doe in that area.
There was definitely a hot doe in there. And I mean, I'm super ethical with my things, and not to mention, working in that town, other guys would have just said screw it and gone right in there and not seeked permission, not gave a damn what anyone would think, and just make a kill and get out of there. I mean, I did everything that helps me go to sleep at night. And, it's just being ethical is huge for me. Integrity is huge for me. And it's just really, that story is just so special to me because that was like my first big buck.
Yeah. I mean, that was an awesome deer, man. Congratulations. I mean, a lot of effort and hard work goes into doing something like that, especially in your first serious year hunting.
Yeah.
You know?
I've been super fortunate to have the people around me though. I mean, some guys probably like, man, that kid talks so much, but
that's what social media does, is just connects you with so many people.
Yeah,
when I first started hunting, or when you first started hunting, we didn't have any of that shit.
No.
We had nothing.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I walked in to the likes.
I like to think about back going, romanticize about that. Like, social media does just kind of suck. I hate having to keep up with it, but you have to if you're, doing any kind of content or you have a business or anything. Yeah. It's crucial. Otherwise, your business will be dead, in this day and age. But
with all the podcasts now too, you can learn so much in such a short period of time.
That's what I was saying earlier. I was hoping you guys were starting a podcast.
No way.
There's no adversarial nature to that.
I don't have that time.
New England needs more content. Hunting.
I can't even go shed hunting.
I do enough stuff out of my police cruiser. I ain't doing a podcast out of
it. You know how many emails I get from people that are just like, oh my God, I want to start listening to your podcast. I've heard all of them already. Do you have any, I've consumed every video and all the content, can you suggest another podcast? And there are hunters, all over the country that feel that way. There's quite a few hunting podcasts out there, but, I don't think there's still not enough for people who are obsessed with it and want to get better to consume. I mean, because you can do it while doing other stuff.
True.
You can listen to them all. So we need more of that. That's why I really like that you guys are doing videos and in your YouTube page and everything.
I can't wait for that. That's what I've always wanted to do.
And you started, you've got your you did your little trial run and post-season after you had your harvest this year. So you've now you're going to build up to hopefully getting some good.
I think this year's going to be nice. I think we got a lot of good things in store for sure.
Should be fun.
We got all
Start
the
off with
equipment
turkey season and stuff. So
we're excited.
It's a whole nother beast. Yeah, turkey season's coming up, but
it's a lot of fun.
Yep.
Brandon, are you impressed with how quickly he's become just
kind
of
aggravating,
even being able to get into that tree, right? He picked the perfect tree.
It's aggravating.
Yeah, he seems to be picking it up pretty quickly.
When he was all last spring and into the summer, it's just I was just out there. I just moved cameras because I didn't see him there for one day, and it's dude, will you just back up? Get out of there.
It's true.
I don't even have any cameras in the woods. Stop it. Will you cut it out?
Yeah, I started in April, I think, last year. Going nonstop.
It's just that addictive personality.
Yeah, it's just
people have that, and
stop.
Yep.
You're making so many people look bad right now.
Yeah. I mean, this year's going to be a little different. I mean, I think, I don't know. It's the hours are going to be there, but I think I just need to kind of slow down with like blowing up spots or going into spots too quick. And I think that's one thing I learned this year is, patience, not rushing things, and kind of just going with the flow.
Yeah, well, we can say that place where Wander was, and you hammered it, and it's just like you were always saying, well, the people are always in their yard, and that deer is always there.
Yep.
But I'm always saying, like, if you walk that 1 foot into the woods, they know.
Yeah.
100%.
That's like when someone walks into your house, it's like, who is that?
Yeah. Yeah, so if anyone has a monster buck that I named Wonder and they have him and they haven't put him on social media, please do, because he's been missing since November 17th.
Yeah, he's gone.
He's gone.
Yeah,
so I don't know where he went.
Put out the missing posters.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but it's funny because you said, like, you killed that 6-pointer, right? And then you went in the next day and you had an opportunity at a mature 10.
Oh, yeah.
And this year, I went into the same spot so many freaking times because I just had 10, 12 different bucks on camera in this place. It was just loaded with bucks. And every time I went in, I was seeing deer. And then every time I went in, pretty much I was seeing bucks. And they started out as small bucks, and then, I missed a couple bucks that were decent bucks. And then I shot that buck, and he, after I shot him, dragged him out, like, whatever, celebrated, brought him to the taxidermist. The very next, I think I was actually sitting that night. I didn't go back there that night, but I did do a sit probably back here. And then the next morning I went back to that spot, and I saw 2 bucks that day. They weren't big bucks, but I saw like 10 deer that day and 2 bucks, and a coyote because his gut pile wasn't too far away. The coyote came in. The turkey, I saw all kinds of shit in there that day, and then I went back the next day. The same exact spot again, and that's when I had my big 150s to 160s huge buck, and he came in, and so there's something, I blew that whole opportunity, but I don't know, like some spots it's like, yeah, you can go right back in after killing one, or you can go in 3 or 4 days in a row, but I haven't seen that buck. I blew the opportunity that day, and I haven't seen him on a camera or got a whiff of him since. So, maybe he smelled my tracks all over the place, and he didn't spook when I blew that opportunity. The doe just kind of like took him, away from me. Yeah. But I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I
don't really have the experience.
You don't have a ton of experience with it,
but I really think it's based on the location. Really, I don't know.
If you're in a hot spot with a doe, you never know what's going to happen. You could have bucks in there that don't even care. You could have a gut pile sitting in the middle of that spot, and
that could have been the case when I got my 9. Who knows?
Jake Bennett, I sent him a video of us because you're talking about him.
Jake.
Last time he saw like Neil Pendleton and Pat Burns in my garage, he was sending me. He's like, dude, what the heck? I didn't get an invite. Podcast party? That looks like fun. Like, next time we do one, I want to do one with a couple people. I'm like, yeah, dude. Like, let's do it. We've been trying to figure it out. So I just sent him the video. I was like, another pod party without you. He goes, yeah, sick invite. Tell Brendan he should get the COVID shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Jake's been a big help. He's the man. He's good stuff. COVID shot.
I saw you guys going back and forth on the COVID shot.
Me and him always go back and forth.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah,
it's funny stuff.
Hey, we can bust balls. Hunters can bust balls and not like, you know what I mean? If it was outside of, you have a different view obviously than Jake does on the COVID shots, right?
Yeah.
And
we have different views on
a lot of stuff, but
we're all connected to hunting, so it's.
And you guys never are hostile with it. It's just busting each other's balls.
Oh, right. We were hostile at one point. That could be a whole podcast.
We should have you and Jake.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
We and him got into it for a bit, but.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about it. Come on, that makes for good content.
No, we gotta have him in there for that one.
Well, he can come in and talk about it the next time.
Yeah, you guys should definitely do a podcast. Both of you, that'd be great. I think like hunting, it just comes down to like having fun, and I think like
for sure,
with, like Respond to the Call Productions too is like we want to just have fun. Like we're out there, we're boys, we're enjoying ourselves. Why not enjoy it and try to make memories and keep those memories alive for our kids, our grandkids, their kids. It's just it's so fun. And I think sometimes we get so attached to deer and we get so attached to the game that we just kind of forget about what we're really doing. And, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, every Sunday I listen to this podcast because I'm learning something new. I've only been hunting for a year. I really know nothing about hunting other than my experiences. But at the end of the day, whether the decision I'm making is right or wrong, I'm having fun. And there's nobody that can take fun away from me. You know what I mean? So that's like my biggest thing. You know what I mean?
Because you could go back to Visco's podcast.
Yeah.
I've had experiences with the same thing. And it's like...
So what are your experiences with that?
I chased a deer. Me and my buddy John Rice, we chased a deer for 5 years.
Is that
giant.
Pablo?
Yeah. Giant. Like...
Yeah, he's a giant.
Probably like 170, 180, and it's like...
So what happened? Tell me that story.
Some people get trail cam pictures of them, and they tell other people, and it's just like they move in. We didn't even hunt it last year. I got tree stands hanging in the woods on private land.
Me and John shed hunting the other day, and we saw it.
But people went in and got permission on the same piece of property, and they knew about that deer. They knew I was hunting there, and it's like, whatever, have
Did somebody else end up killing it?
No, he's still probably alive somewhere. But good luck.
Really? Yeah.
I'm not going to fight over it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It killed me. It killed me. I still got the stands out there. Like,
how long ago was this? A couple years ago?
Last year.
Oh, yeah. So he could still be alive.
Oh, he's still alive.
Oh, dude, go in there and kill him.
Yeah.
It does suck, like having to like.
Dude, it's so aggravating. You have no idea.
Probably takes the fun out of it. It's
people texting, like, message you on Facebook and stuff saying, "Oh, hi, I'll drop them off at the station so you can check them out." And it's like, dude, you guys are such tools. Like,
what?
That's how people get. And it's
like, come on.
But that's. I'm not gonna fight over them. Go take them. I'll go find some more.
Yeah.
Like, if that's the only deer you got to focus on is the one that someone's been chasing after for 5 years. We just talked about it earlier. You know what I mean? So, it's the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Same exact thing. Good luck.
Well, that's why it shows that you, like, you know, you're practicing what you preach, though, because you found out you were hunting a deer that somebody else was, and they have a long history with them, and, you know, you might as well. Like, you've been through that yourself, so it's like, all right, man, I totally get it, man.
That's what we talked about when I said, I'm done.
Yep.
And then that happened, because it happened to me before, and it's just like, whatever, dude.
So how big was this property that you were hunting, and then, like, how many?
12 acres.
And somebody else got permission on 12. See, 12 acres is a one-hunter property, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you try to put more than one person.
It was me and my buddy, and then there was, like, the straggler hunter that would pop in and out. And then,
did you and your buddy hunt at the same time in there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we killed deer out of there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's big enough for 2 stands, and if you're friendly with somebody, right, like opposite ends of the property.
Yeah, we'd hunt 150 yards away from each other and still shoot shit.
Because then you got 2 shooters, and if if anybody gets one, it feels like both of you did, which is awesome.
Yeah, he's on. John's on Respond to the Call Productions too. He's a firefighter, so we all grew up together.
Kills me. Oh, so aggravating.
But I mean, this year
I'll pull up pictures and you'll be like, oh, damn. Go in there and kill it, and it's like, why?
How many hunters got permission on it after you did?
It was just one dude.
Just one dude.
I texted and he's like, oh, hey, check, I got pictures of this buck, and it's like, oh, that's a nice buck. Never seen that buck before, but he was hunting on illegal property.
Yeah,
and I never said anything. Like, I could have turned you in before, and I never did.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, I'm going to go get permission on the piece of property you got. Oh.
Yeah,
right.
Those are the hunters.
Oh, hey, I got permission on the piece of property.
Yeah.
Oh.
Those are the hunters that give us all, the bad names. And it goes back to, like, being
I should have turned them in, but I never did.
You got bad apples, a few bad apples in the police force, and then people can turn on the entire police force.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's just like...
It's true. I mean, luckily enough...
Super frustrating. And if you don't want to do your own homework, I'll go do my homework again.
Yeah.
We get a ton of private property.
Look what happened. I shot one this year.
Shot a beautiful one.
What the heck? You know what I mean?
That was a great story.
Just go do your homework again.
Yeah.
That buck you had this year was awesome. That was a drag, man. Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how much did you say that one weighed?
190.
190, and you guys carried it out for a little while?
Yeah.
We dragged it attached to a sapling.
We dragged it for like 3.5 hours and then carried it for like 400 yards. That took
another hour. It was a 2 mile It was a 2 mile.
My walk-in was like 2.2 miles.
Yeah, it was far. There was 3 of us, and it took like 4.5, 5 hours. Yeah.
I heard you talking about saddles. That was my second time in a saddle.
Oh wow, that's nice. So do I have to get into a saddle this year? I have a platform downstairs that my buddies gave me as a gift, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to be focusing on it. But is it like that much
It's worth
better?
it for your arsenal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, my first time I went into this piece of property was, I walked the same distance, but with a lone wolf hang-on and sticks, and it sucked. Like, terrible. Brutal. And then I went and bought that saddle that week and went back in there. That sucked.
Yeah.
But there's like a situation for everything. Like, obviously a hang-on's going to be a little bit more comfortable in a saddle, but if you're walking 2 miles into the woods with a whole bunch of gear,
Yeah.
not worth it.
That was a full 2 miles too.
That's
that
probably-
was
Totally was.
That was
Probably
far.
made you think about getting one of those quiet cats or...
Oh, that'd be sweet. I've looked into
So
them.
Patrick
I've looked
showed
into
me-
like some cheaper models.
Yeah, Petrick has the plug, dude. He's got a guy in Pennsylvania that engineers his own, and they're much cheaper. But it looked, he showed it to me, and it looked awesome.
I've
Just
seen
like,
a few different companies that make
hit
it.
him up. You can get one for I think he said, freaking don't quote me on it, but like in the 1500s or something.
Yeah, I've seen
So,
some like
yeah.
you can get some like slower ones for like even 900, but something that's gonna put some horsepower out. But I've been on a Rambo and those things fly.
Which one's that? Is that the Quiet Cat, or it's a different brand?
It's just a different brand.
Yeah.
But like 27 miles an hour, like on flat ground, it's like
27.
you can cover some area fast.
Can you imagine being in your stand and just being like just seeing freaking
Somebody
Brandon
whipping by.
flying through the woods up a hill at 27 miles an hour?
That's
That'd be good. All right, let's take a quick break and then we'll get back into it. I want to see a picture of that buck.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
All right, just want to take a quick break and remind everybody that's listening, please, if you haven't, go on to iTunes or the podcast app, anywhere that you can leave a review on the podcast. iTunes and the Apple Podcast app are the best places to do so because it really helps in the rankings. Go in there, leave a written review, tap on the 5-star rating. It's going to help us a lot in shooting up the rankings and getting this podcast out to more people, and I would really greatly appreciate that. Go and subscribe on our YouTube page if you haven't yet. It's Hunt Suburbia, youtube.com/Hunt Suburbia. Of course, follow us on all of our social medias. Continue to interact with us, and if you have any questions or anything you want to send me, shoot me an email at huntsuburbia@gmail.com. Really appreciate you guys.
I think he's been on the same show as Patrick.
All right, we're back, and we're just talking about how John Petrick grows giant pumpkins. And Tyler says he knows somebody that does that too. Apparently, it's a big thing.
Yeah, so throw me on the spot. Yeah, my sister-in-law's boyfriend. He's definitely crazy into building. I mean, not building. I don't even know what it's called. Growing, I guess. I mean, growing and.
I would say building. Yeah. You build the giant pumpkin.
Build it, right?
Yeah.
I think Patrick said he sings to him at one point.
I asked him if he sang to him. He's like, I played music. Yeah, I played music.
I just remember hearing the podcast. You're saying he's like out there, like what, 4 hours out of the day.
Well, yeah, that was the part I actually couldn't believe. Where he's like, every morning, it's like 2 hours in the morning and then like 3 hours in the evening or something.
before
Like
bed
it's
or
like a full-time job almost every day.
Yeah. I couldn't do it. My wife would kill me. But I mean, all to him. I mean, it's unbelievable. But yeah, my sister-in-law's boyfriend does it, and he's pretty crazy. I think he got like a 500-pound pumpkin this year or something like that. Nothing crazy. I mean,
That's a cute one.
Yeah, I think Patrick's pushing like 1,200 pounds or something like that.
Yeah, Patrick. Yeah,
That's Patrick after 1 month.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, his first one, I think he said was like 135, and he thought it was the world's biggest pumpkin. He showed up at the fair like super happy and excited.
cool.
But we got on that subject because talking with Brandon, and I found out Brandon's got a Vermont deer camp too.
Yeah.
And deer camps are just awesome, and Vermont deer camp, something special about that too.
Yeah, we love it up there. My grandparents bought it like 34 years ago, and it's beautiful up there.
And you guys just started doing a food plot.
Yeah,
on it,
we
right?
just started running food plots last year and bought a tiller and shit, and it grew.
And up there,
We just spread some seed and hit it with some starter fert, and it just...
and what was it? It was radish, right?
Yeah, we grew radish and
A bunch
clover
of stuff.
and just a bunch of different shit.
And like those are big woods up there. It's like,
yeah, so like we have like a clear cut that's like right at the start of our driveway, and then we grew a woods plot that's surrounded by thousands of acres. You know what I mean? It's just in the middle of the woods. My grandparents had the whole piece of property clear cut. Well, not clear cut, but like select cut.
Yep.
Probably like 15 years ago.
Yeah, and so what do you guys get for deer up there? So, and in my camp, like the average year we get 3
Giants
or
a
4 deer, but exactly, like 6-pointer's the average.
We got a stud 6-pointer. Like, that's it. You know what I mean?
Do you guys keep a list or anything?
No.
Yeah,
I don't run any lists.
I always wonder like how. That's up Tyler's alley, like keeping stats and stuff. But like,
I love stats.
We've kept a list at our camp since 1958, and it's cool to go back and look at it every year. And it always meant something as a kid. Like get on the list, you shoot a deer, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
And most of the deer.
I've never even shot a deer on that piece of property.
Really?
I saw so many deer.
Yeah.
Last year, and I never shot one of them.
And you probably only hunt rifle up there, right?
No, pretty much like the first 3 weeks at bow, and that's it.
You hunt bow up there, dude. Yeah, like northeast Kingdom hunting bow. That is a difficult, super difficult task.
We don't go up there. We went up there 2 winters ago for rifle, and it was like -10.
Yeah,
I'm all set. I'm good.
-10. Ooh.
Yeah,
like our camp can't even stay.
You don't like cold weather.
No.
Like, dude, I think the best time to be in the woods is like now when it's freezing, because I still sweat. I'm a sweater, and I sweat my balls off even in like this like 10, 15 degree weather.
Yeah.
Going out, especially when the snow is like knee deep.
Yeah.
I'm sweating constantly, so I don't even wear a jacket when I go out in this weather.
If you're moving.
Because I'm moving constantly.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't like to.
And I freaking hate yellow jackets, and I hate ticks, and I hate mosquitoes and all that stuff. So when it's cold, none of that
I've never been much of like a still hunter or like moving slowly through the woods or whatever. So,
so are you strictly a bow hunter, pretty much?
Last 3 years I've taken the shotgun out twice.
Yep. What about muzzleloader? Do you do any muzzleloader hunting?
Nope. I have a muzzleloader. I haven't taken the muzzleloader out in a while.
Yeah. I think like when I get into, I
love the bow. I just love how you get so close to it.
Me too. I mean, I've fallen in love with it, so I hope that I tag out in Massachusetts every year with my bow. But I do want to like start shooting a muzzleloader. And this podcast, obviously, we're announcing like Woodman Arms is a partner of the podcast now.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And
that's
awesome. Timmy Bolduc is like, he's just an awesome dude, and me and him hit it off, and he's a really great guy that just wants to tell you everything and teach you everything that he knows. And I think he might be working on a project that's going to help people learn a lot more about what he knows in the future. And I'm excited for that. But he called me and he's like, yeah, we want to partner with you guys. And I've shot a Woodman Arms muzzleloader, and I've held other people's Woodman Arms, but I don't have one yet, but we're working on that. And
I've heard such good things about them from so many people. It's just like, man,
dude, handmade in New Hampshire, like
gun
right
hunted,
next to here.
cool.
My God, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome,
and
especially because
really
it's local.
good.
Like I have a Thompson Center.
Yep. Well,
And
that was
that's
local.
local.
Yeah,
It
but
was
they've
local.
since they've gone by the wayside. Like there is nothing like a Woodman Arms muzzleloader I've seen. I mean, it really is just a work of art. Yeah. You actually don't have to clean it. They recommend not cleaning it.
Yeah, sweet.
If you're shooting Blackhorn 209 powder in it, you don't need to clean that thing. So awesome. I mean, I'm super excited about that. But
that's cool.
So let's talk about. I want to hear from you because I know you're a really great hunter. I know I got to draw it out of you a little bit, but like
you're gonna have to pull it.
Let's talk about last year you got a really nice buck.
Yeah, I did.
And let's talk about how you set up on that buck and how you scouted them and what went into that whole process of killing them.
Yeah, so the end of 2019, me and a buddy of mine grabbed our muzzleloaders one day and just hit a piece of woods.
Yep.
We just like hunted like close to each other. But I think, he had a buck tag, and I only had a noise tag. So we hit this zone spot, and it was just like tracks everywhere. But we never saw a deer.
Yeah.
But it was just loaded with tracks. So I went back in like July and set cameras, and then it was crazy.
So that was 2019. You were in there with the muzzies, and then you went back the next year, which was last year.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So July or August of 2020.
Yeah.
I went back there and hung cameras.
Yeah.
Let it soak for like a month and a half.
Yeah.
And then went back and I was. Boom.
You just had tons of different pictures.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
All the activity that I saw in the end of December.
Yep.
Was the same.
Still there.
Same
so
thing.
so a lot of people do say, like, you know what, don't, like, the patterns are all going to change. But, I don't know, mid-December, end of December, you're pretty well into the winter.
But, like, so all I was getting was nighttime pictures for the most part.
When?
I get when I set the cameras in, like, end of August, beginning of September, all nighttime pictures.
Yep.
But they were all coming from the same direction every single time.
Yeah.
So I just
backtrack it.
Move 1,000 yards in the direction they were coming from. And
yep. So
I only sat there 3 times and shot we're thinking like mid 140s.
Yeah. So you eyeballed it like mid 140s.
Yeah.
Beautiful deer.
Yeah.
And so this is like an example.
Then I backed out and never hunted it again.
Yeah. Well, you already killed the biggest deer in the area, so like, why do you need to hunt it?
No. We're just good.
And but so this is a good example of like late season scouting can turn into like your next season plan. Oh, this what happened this year with me, dude. I after I killed both my bucks, I did want to kill a doe, but I was just like, all right, I'm going to carry my bow around and I'm going to scout some new territory. Yep. And I found this spot late season that is just freaking perfect suburban hunting. There's a posted line that goes along, and it's like 180 acre posted land, and there's a posted line that goes there. And then there is a road that is not too far off the road, 300, 400 feet, right?
Yep.
And then so there's this like 30 to 40 yard wide strip that goes along this like posted thing that is huntable. And I just went in there to check it out, and I jumped a buck the first time I went in there. And then I put a couple cameras up. I had all kinds of nice bucks in here, and I can't wait to go back and hunt it next year. But it's late season scouting, and it's going to turn into next year's game plan.
I've done so many times where I've scouted like early into the spring, early summer, and it's just like those deer aren't there anymore.
Yeah.
And then I'm starting to do scouting during hunting season.
Yeah.
Especially late season.
Yeah, it's great. It really is. It's just awesome. It's like late season's the best time I feel like to scout, and I've only really started getting into it now.
Yep.
But last year I did put up because of COVID. I was at home all the time and looking for any excuse to
this
get
thing's
out.
over soon because public land's swamped with deer. It's crazy. Or swamped with people. Hunters. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw people
especially
everywhere.
Turkey season last year was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that. Yeah, I didn't do any turkey.
It was so
hunting.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to Vermont, and I don't think it changes up there because Vermont's got a ton of hunters, no matter what. And I don't think like COVID like brought out new hunters in Vermont. It's like everybody in Vermont hunts.
Well, Vermont had that. You can't come from out of state.
I know, but everybody broke that rule.
Yeah.
Like I drove up there.
Of course.
Like I'm going. I've never missed a opening weekend of rifle season before.
I own property in Vermont. I'm going to my property in Vermont.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm going to participate in the most socially distanced sport you can do. It's like
30 feet up in a tree.
I'm 30 feet up in a tree and nobody's around.
Yeah.
Especially in Vermont.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, so I went up and did that, and but down here, I heard that there were so many hunters in the woods for turkey season.
Brutal.
Are you guys turkey? Have you killed a turkey before, Tyler?
Last year, like I said, this was my first year full, really going full, hard and hunting hard. But last year I did hunt turkey. I took 3 shots at a turkey with a bow and I missed every time. So we'll see what happens this year.
Bring the shotgun out.
Yeah.
Do you hunt turkey with a shotgun?
That's the thing. I didn't know where to hunt. I didn't know where to hunt at all. So I didn't go on public land. I was mostly just primed to the private properties that I have.
Yeah. But I know I've heard people that like only want to shoot turkeys with a bow. That's cool, but like
I'm a strict bow hunter, but I'll run a shotgun for turkey.
Yeah. Well, so what do you like about turkey hunting? Like people, they're trying to get
Well, it's
me
just
into
like
trying
it's
to
just
draw
like
me
coyotes. You running and gunning.
in. You don't have to be as quiet. Well, you do have to be quiet and shit, but it's
multiple pieces of property in one day, like multiple. Like when we coyote hunt at night, it's 6, 7, 8 pieces of property in a night.
See, that's unbelievable. I never realized that until I went out with Todd White the other night.
Yeah.
And I mean, anyone that does not know Todd White doesn't know anything about predator hunting. He is, I would say, arguably probably the best predator hunter in the state. He's unbelievable. His knowledge is just off the chains. But I had the opportunity to go with him and hunt with him the other night for coyote. And, yeah, we was just running and gunning. I mean, I did not know that's what coyote hunting was about. I've never coyote hunted ever until that night. And it was unbelievable. It was crazy.
Thanks for tying back into that, because this was supposed to be a predator hunting podcast.
Yeah, we can run.
We talk about deer, like we just love deer. So I love deer so much.
Everything's addicting.
Yeah, the coyote hunt was. I mean, it was just what an experience.
But so why do you bounce property to property? Is it because you can draw them out with?
You're
calls, and
calling
if you're calling and nothing comes in, you pretty much know they're not there.
Yeah, like you're calling a set from 30 minutes to 50 minutes. And then boom, gone. See you next set.
And if you're calling for 30 to 50 minutes and they don't come in, you know they're not there, or are they sometimes just like a deer where they're not always gonna come into the call? What's it like?
Yeah, they're not always gonna come into the call. Someone could have called that spot before if you're hunting public.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of private property that we hunt, but someone could have been calling that coyote
on the other side
other side of the property. You know what I mean? It's just.
So what do you use for a call? Is it like
electronic call?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is like imitating what? A rabbit or a squirrel?
Yeah, we usually sound off with some vocals to start with, like coyote vocals, and then switch to distress rabbit or something.
All right.
But
it just all depends on the set. We can start sometimes with a bird distress call when they freaking come cruising right in. If they're already out in that field.
But you guys have that down to a science. I mean, you guys are,
Yeah, I'm still learning quite a bit, but yeah.
I was just watching Todd, and I know you hunt with Todd a ton. And I'm sitting there
I'm going there tomorrow night, so it's going to be a long 2 nights.
I know. We had a great conversation about that on the way up here. But I mean, I was sitting next to Todd, and I'm just like, what is going on? I even said to Todd,
I talked to him. I talked to him today.
I mean, I was fortunate enough to get my first coyote on my first hunting experience, but I was standing next to Todd, and I'm like, dude, are they coming? He's like, the hell are you talking about? I'm like, I hear the coyotes. He goes, dude, I just called that. So, I mean, it's definitely, it's wild. It's so sophisticated with that calling. I mean,
we're sitting out
crazy.
Pitch black.
It's crazy.
The darker the better.
Dark.
The darker the better.
Which seems like such a fun, cool hunting experience, dude.
We run thermal headsets.
It's insane.
With thermals on our guns.
I could only see when I looked in the scope. So like I was just looking at Todd and I saw him like fidgeting with the call, and I'm like, what is he doing? And like it's amazing.
Does he do any mouth calls or is
strictly off?
The only thing he does is when like it's just like he does that lip
he'll
call.
lip squeak them.
Yeah, he'll lip squeak them when they're close, which is what he did right before I shot my yote.
He'll lip squeak them to pretty much stop them.
Yeah.
What's that? Just
just like
almost like a
kissy noise,
like what you do to your dog.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just. I mean, I've never coyote hunted until that night, and I was
it's lip squeaks. Squeeze the trigger.
It's crazy. I mean, there's such a. It's pretty crazy. It was cool to see because
it's just a totally different
having
aspect.
no
just
clue.
Well, even just hunting at night is a crazy difference from anything else, right?
It's freaking.
Unless you're.
You should see how many
poacher.
deer. You should see how many deer we see at night. It's freaking crazy.
Oh man.
I mean, you're standing out there. It's freezing out. I mean.
It's wild.
We got to.
I don't know why. For some reason, I feel like you're laying prone.
No, you're standing.
We run a tripod and everything. So
yeah.
You're standing there. It's unreal. The only thing cold on me was my feet.
Yeah.
Because you're in the snow. I mean, right now it's snow, but man, it was so sophisticated watching it, and I mean, it was cool that I was able to get.
Did your coyote come in by himself?
No. Todd called everything in.
So did you guys get multiple kills and you had one of them, or what? How did it work?
The first spot we went to, nothing came out. We were there for like 45 minutes. he's like, all right, let's go. We're going to the next spot. So we went to the next spot. We had a coyote come in about 300 yards away off the wood line. Dipped back into the wood line, and that was it. So we ended up leaving there.
And you're looking at them through a thermal scope?
Yeah. I mean, Todd's got the headgear.
We can't run
Todd's got
kind of
thousands
lights in Massachusetts, so it's strictly thermal. Or moonlight.
Yeah, it was just.
So you can see him just coming down the hill and off the wood line and stuff, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I have nothing, absolutely nothing to coyote hunt. Todd was gracious enough to just bring me along and let me kind of enjoy the ride. He gave me his setup from. I mean, he had two setups. He had the firearm. He had the tripod for me. He had his own setup too. He had the thermal reader and whatnot. I mean, the thermal scopes. He had everything for me, so I really didn't have to do anything. I just showed up, and I'm blessed to have that opportunity to do that with him. But yeah, you're just looking through that, and you're just looking for movement. So we had a coyote come off 300 yards out of the wood line. He dipped back in the wood line, and that was it. So we went to our third spot, and this spot, I mean, what a pain in the butt to get to. I mean, we're crossing friggin' water, and I almost ate shit. It was hilarious. And,
yes, that's another thing.
It's pitch black, so you don't see anything.
That's another thing. Like, I feel like you're just setting up on the edge of fields, but you're actually like humping into some spots.
Well, yeah. Sometimes you got to get through the woods to get to a field or whatever. But if you're hunting at night, you're 100% hunting.
And you're not using any flashlights to get in there or anything.
No
way. I mean,
why? Because the coyotes can sense it or see it, or
for the most part, you're just gonna be trying to be as stealth as possible. It's just like black ops shit. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
From not knowing anything,
Todd runs a thermal headset. I run a thermal headset.
Yeah.
So we're
light up.
So we're walking in. It basically, we can see everything.
Okay.
And it's just a scope that goes over.
You can see squirrels and shit.
Oh,
and
yeah, whatever. Every different temperature, everything's gonna read a different temperature, and we can see everything.
Yeah. So I was just going off like Todd. Like if he was walking, I was on his ass. And I remember this final spot. I mean, we're walking to, and he's like, I mean, you would think like, I mean, I'm thinking I have no experience whatsoever, but I'm like, all right, so maybe we're gonna set up right here. We're walking like half a mile in. He's like, all right, we're gonna set up right here. I'm like, right here? He's like, yeah, trust me, watch. See that pond straight ahead? I'm like, I don't see anything. He goes, look through the scope, dummy. It was just a blast, So I'm looking through the scope, and I'm like, wow, all right, I see the pond there. I see the ridge to the left. I see the ridge to the right. I see the ridge straight ahead over the swamp. He's like, there's a road to the left, road to the right. They're going to come down this way. I mean, he had it. I mean, it was unbelievable.
He'd been there before.
I mean, it was like, I mean, I mean, it's like you might as well hire an outfitter. He was that good.
This is all he does.
Yeah, it was insane.
You don't deer hunt.
You don't even deer hunt.
No. He deer hunts 2 weeks in New York.
Now I wonder how you get into how like, you got guys who love one thing over the other. My buddy Scotland is like super into trout, but he's getting into other stuff, right? How do you get into like just coyote hunting? I wonder. I wonder how that becomes your thing.
Crazy. I mean, I have no idea, but this guy,
people just waterfowl hunting, pheasant hunting, or whatever, and it's just
whatever your passion so smart. Is. He was so educated with everything he did that just, I mean, I was like I was like amazed by it, and I'm freezing, like I'm cold. Like this is our third location. We've seen one coyote.
Well, yeah, there's
I'm
the other
cold,
thing,
man. I'm cold. Like at this point,
the middle of the night is the coldest part of the.
Yeah, at this point, I'm kind of like, man, like I did not dress for this for one. For two, I'm like, this is freezing. My toes are like numb. Yeah. And like it was kind of brutal. We set up. I shit you not. We set up. He starts making a call. 2 minutes later, maybe not even 2 minutes later, he's like, hey, they're coming from the left. Get in your scope. So I'm looking. I don't see anything. He's like, they're coming from your left. Coming from your left.
There's does he have like night vision shit?
So just imagine like somebody in the military.
He's got a helmet on. With a flip down thermal.
So it does look like it's just military.
Yeah, he looks like the Terminator.
Oh, yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah. We're basically military.
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's like Black Ops stuff. So
we have better stuff than the military. Like, military just runs like,
I mean,
Gen 3 night vision. And
I mean, the stuff that he has it was like a $15,000 setup.
It's nuts.
So I mean, it's like crazy money. But
he's running scopes that are 9Gs.
yeah, easy. So he's like, it's coming down from the yotes are coming down from the left. So I'm looking to the left. I don't see anything. All of a sudden, I see one coming down, and then I see two up high on the ridge. So there's three there. So me being inexperienced, I'm like, he's 110 yards out. I'm like, I got a shot. Should I take him? He goes, no, don't take him. I'm like, all right. So I'm like, sounds good to me. I'm just waiting. And then
what kind of rifle is it, by the way?
it was a 10 and a half.
Yeah, so like rifles, Massachusetts is ridiculous.
See, like again,
so
I'm not
rifle you
experienced
can
in
only
this.
go to 22 LR. That's it.
That's what it
rifles.
was.
So, but you can hunt with a pistol up to a 38 caliber. So we're running 223s and a pistol. 6.8.
Wow.
Oh, so you were out with him this night too?
No.
No, okay, all right. But you've gone out with him before.
But I have everything.
Yeah.
So it's just like
Him and Todd run all the
like
time.
he was running a 223 that night. I run a 6.8 SPC pistol
Yep.
that night. But it's
That's cool. You're hunting coyotes with a pistol.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So the coyote comes down and
it's fun.
All right, hang on. We gotta pause because this is about to die. So we'll pause it and put some new batteries in.
sounds good.
What do you do for baiting coyotes? Like, we're talking about calling them in, but I see a lot of people saying, "Hey, I've got a roadkill. Who wants some coyote bait?" So do you throw bait out there? What kind of bait you using?
Dog food.
What do you mean by that? Actual dog food?
Alpo.
Kibbles and bits and stuff?
Alpo dry dog food. Started it. My first year was baiting was this year, and it's crazy. The hammer in dog food.
So you just throw out kibbles and bits?
Yep. Alpo, it's like savory beef flavor.
Now you do that like the night before, like a
Just
week
keep-
before, and you get them like
spread it
coming
out.
into the same
Spread
spot?
it out
or-
like 3 or 4 scoops every day.
Yeah. And do you find any other animals are eating it, or it's just the
No,
coyotes?
it's coyotes. They're
Yeah.
hammering it, dude. It's freaking crazy. Like,
When I went out with Todd, he said the same thing.
yeah,
He's like, I'm just feeding him dog food.
dude,
I'm
it's
like,
nuts.
I'm like,
we run a
I'm
couple.
like,
We run a
dog
couple
food? I'm
bait
like,
sites just to
It's incredible.
if we're out calling and the camera goes off. Boom, we're just gonna pop over there, pop a coyote, and then just keep rolling with Kyle. But dude, it's crazy. They hammer dog food.
So does Todd or somebody who is, strictly a coyote hunter, not deer hunter, do they use cameras like we do as deer hunters?
Yeah, so he'll run just on bait sites, but yeah, he doesn't run cameras in his calling locations or anything.
Does he get excited like we do when we see a big buck, when he sees like a big yote come in?
No, I think he's like a born coyote killer.
So it was funny when I was out with
It's
him.
not like, oh
Yeah.
shit, that's a nice one.
When
That's
I was out with him the other night, I asked him, and I specifically said to him, I said, you're so tied into these coyotes. I'm like, when you have your your cell camera out there and your camera's out there, I'm like, are you targeting one coyote? He's like, no. He goes, I have an idea of the coyotes that are there. He says, but it's really just a new face every year. I'm like, what do you mean by that? He goes, well, there's no way to keep this population down. He goes, I could kill 6 coyotes, 7 coyotes at one location. The next year, it's just different faces. That's
Yeah.
all. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Well, that was just like when you called me when you were on your way down there. You're like, if I shoot a black one, is that going to be crazy? And I said, you're not going to know the color. They're all the same color through a thermal scope. You don't know
Yeah.
anything. You don't know, roughly know a size, but you don't know a size.
Right.
And
So I guess
it's-
walking up to your coyote is kind of like your big find. Like, what do I got?
It's kind of like fishing in a way where you
Yeah.
got something on the line, you won't know it until it gets in the boat, you know?
Yeah.
That's a big parallel I always talk about with my buddy Scotland. It's like with, when you're hunting deer, you kind of like, you know what you're going after, and a lot of times, you know, you got a target buck, or even if not, you see it approaching, but when you're fishing, it's like everything below the water, you can't tell, and it's just a surprise. And there is that surprise factor which makes fishing awesome, and I love fishing. And there is that surprise factor, I guess, with the coyote hunting.
yeah,
if
we
you're
don't
using
know.
a thermal
We don't know
scope.
colors or anything. It's just.
But what is like the best color to walk up to? What is the unique like?
I mean, it's nice to walk
What
up to
gets
a.
you more excited?
It's nice to walk up to a blonde,
Yep.
but if you shoot a black coyote, it's game over.
Yeah.
Black.
That's mounted.
Yeah.
That's mount
Todd was
status.
saying you walk up to a black coyote.
Why is that? Because it looks like a wolf or something.
No,
Like,
it's just like they don't.
They're rare.
Rare. Super rare. I think there's only been one shot in Massachusetts this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Just all black or like just
all
dark?
black.
All black.
All black.
All right, so no
like straight, no colors, just straight black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Todd's been hunting for years.
Yeah. He's been coyote hunting for like
And he said
25 years. He's never
ever
shot a
gotten
black coyote.
black coyote.
Wow.
We
So
shot
that just tells you,
we shot a
like-
blonde double last year, and it was like, Jesus. Like,
2 blondes and one.
yeah, one of the blonde that's over there in the pile, and it's just
Hey,
like
you had a blonde threesome. That is rare
foursome.
in many ways.
Yeah.
The picture on the back of his trunk was pretty cool too.
Yes. Blondes are good, but
All right, and how big? Like, so here's the thing. Like,
Yeah, I heard you talking about this in the
it's just
last one.
People do think coyotes are huge.
yeah, 60 pounds.
and it's because
It's like, yeah, dude.
it's because they're thinking like wolves and like people who are just don't really know.
Koi wolves.
Yeah, and coy wolves is a big thing. My neighbor across the street, who listens to this podcast, shout out Mike. He won the Heron Hill raffle that we did.
Yeah.
My neighbor across the street, he's like, yeah, there's coy wolves around here. They're huge, and they're interbred, right?
Yeah,
and they're
that's,
huge.
that's the anti for
Now-
eastern coyote.
But if you did do a genetic test on these
Oh,
coyotes,
sure.
they
They
got
have-
wolf in them.
Yeah.
Just like they got domestic dog in them,
Yeah,
right?
If you do a DNA test on a German Shepherd, you're gonna find wolf in them.
If you do a DNA test on Tyler, there's probably some wolf in him. It's like,
Chihuahua.
Yeah, Chihuahua. Yeah, I got those canines.
But yeah, they're coyotes.
You do
Eastern coyotes.
now do a DNA test on Elizabeth Warren.
You got. Jeez.
I'm not a political guy.
Yeah.
No comment.
No, I'm just gonna say there'd be some wolf. In
That's
there.
that's another podcast.
That's the Jake Bennett and Brandon Ashford.
Oh no.
We're definitely doing a podcast that is Jake Bennett and Brandon.
You got to do it.
Yeah.
You got to do it.
Yeah.
I'm texting Jake as we talk on this
That's
podcast.
gonna be an off
And
season.
he's talking about COVID vaccinations, and I'm just dying laughing.
I'm
So
gonna give him a kiss right when I see him.
I think he's in the ER right now. Well, who knows?
He was last time we were doing last time I was doing a group podcast. He was in the ER and sending videos back and forth. Why am I not there? It's like, dude, let's get it done. So I'm gonna be doing a podcast with Jake and do you guys know who Rich Malloy is? I hadn't heard of him, but he's a game chef and he's
I've seen his
personal trainer and he's like. Looks like he makes some real bomb game dishes.
I don't
and
know
stuff.
Rich Malloy, but I see all the stuff on Instagram, and the food looks unbelievable.
Oh, man.
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Unreal.
So we're gonna do one where he chefs up some stuff, and then
Sweet.
we sit down and like talk over like this bomb game dinner.
That'd be mad.
Oh, it's gonna be sick.
I'll sit out back.
It's like maybe we'll have an audience for that one.
You should have a
Post-COVID.
fire pit going out back.
Oh yeah,
Oh man, that'd be great. What a podcast.
dude, we're doing a. I've said it, and as long as we can safely do it, we're doing a Hunt Suburbia fire barbecue middle of the summer here
Sweet.
this year with anybody who's been a guest on the podcast. So obviously you guys
that'd
are
be great. That'd
Think
just be-
about that
that'd just
group
be
of
a good
hunters, dude.
opportunity to talk to the guys that have been on this show.
right.
Like me, I'm a nobody. I mean, I listened to your podcast this past Sunday when Tanner was saying, I heard him numerous times say, I'm just a nobody. That kid was a great wealth of knowledge. I learned a lot from that kid, and
You can learn from everybody, man.
That's
it's like
that's the thing.
it's-
There's so many people. I forget what podcast you talked about it on, but it's just like how many big bucks are shot that aren't ever talked about.
Right.
And I want to get those guys too who don't.
You're never
normally
gonna
wanna
find
talk.
them. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
like they're not on social media.
They're like,
they don't
they're like my
exist.
dad. He's in a cave, man. He's got like monsters on his wall, and he.
But how sweet would it be to like interview them, but not talk about their name or anything, and just leave it as a ghost?
They don't even know what a podcast
You
is.
would probably hear a lot of things that would not be allowed nowadays, but who cares, right?
I just want to talk to them and like not like, and I just think there'd be an allure to, it's a whole series on the podcast, like me interviewing a ghost.
Right.
And we call them ghost hunters, whatever, and they never even say who they are, and they don't reveal anything that would
I think that'd be really
identify who they are. But it's a way to get some of this knowledge away from those guys who don't want to talk about what
that's
they're
just,
doing.
That's
and-
just like that old timer that shot that freaking freak. That's bow hunt mass
Oh,
buck of the year.
Yeah.
You see that thing? It's got
was
like,
that Spencer? Spencer
This year?
Mass?
Yeah.
Drop tine.
I didn't
mean,
see
it
it.
was.
Dude, it's like,
Oh, I did see one that had like the black on the end.
Yeah,
Is that,
yeah,
it's just like
Why do their antlers get all black on the end like that?
it's just velvet. It's velvet that never
Is that
fell
what it
off.
is? Yeah. Lack of blood flow or whatever.
I think it's just velvet that never
Those
fell
big
off.
drop tine bucks, you see that black on the end.
Yeah, I think it's just because they're
Yeah.
so far away and they just never drop.
The guy who got that buck down on the islands, man, that's a pretty buck. That's a monster.
We don't know where it was shot, but
It was supposedly on the islands, right?
yeah, that's what the antlers.
Nantucket or Vineyard.
Oh.
That's what the antlers indicate.
The antlers look that way. Yeah.
Why? How can you tell?
I don't know. They just got that weird color.
Island vibes.
Looks like driftwood, man. Looks
They
like
got
driftwood.
those.
That salt
They
water.
just got like that weird color,
Salt air.
dark color, and like the grainy bone. It's
See, I'd like to. I've talked about this on a few podcasts too. Just the differences in being able to
protein
hunt
for
around here.
nutrients.
It's just crazy the different opportunities. Like
yeah.
even within just Massachusetts, you can hunt big giant woods out in the Berkshires, or suburban woods in Zone 10, or you can go out to a freaking island that celebrities go to and have houses on. Martha's Vineyard or Nantucket, hunting island deer. You can kill a deer on a beach. Like, it's just crazy the difference that, and I think in the Northeast we're so spoiled because of it. We have the most diversity, I think, in just what you can hunt up here. And we've got so many state border lines that are so close to each other that you tag out one state, you can go to the other one. If you're that into hunting, you can like bounce around and do a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about coyote hunting and now the different diversity in
So
coyote hunting.
hunting. Fox Pro guys hit the Cape one year.
Yep.
They hammered a bunch of coyotes on the beach.
Oh yeah. Like just
There's
like
a YouTube video of Fox Pro guys hitting the beach on the Cape.
and then
Pretty cool.
how many different things within coyote hunting can you do? You hold a pistol and he's holding a freaking 223, and the different scopes that you're using, and it's just like you can never. It's almost like hunting. Every person's hunting setup is like a snowflake where everything is completely.
Well, yeah, his
unique to yourself.
223 was a pistol.
Nobody's hunting like that. Nobody's hunting like exactly like you. We're in the same gear and all that stuff. Hunting is so unique.
Oh yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, my 223 was a pistol. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't what you would expect it to be. It was
Just
it
like
was
a short.
10.5 inch
It was a
barrel.
10.5 inch barrel. It was a 223 10.5 inch barrel. I mean, on a tripod. It was unreal. The experience that I had. I mean, luckily.
We don't get much.
We
don't get much leverage with coyote hunting in Massachusetts. It's no IR, no rifles other than a 22 LR. So if you're not dropping $4,000 minimum, you're not hunting coyotes for the most part.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I taught a very expensive dinner.
20,
He took care
a
of me.
22 LR for
Yeah,
coyotes.
that's true because you got to like. Well, you can hunt them during the day, but it's probably very hard to.
Yeah, sure. You can hunt them during the
luck.
day, but
Yeah.
these eastern coyotes, I feel like, are totally different. You're not
Yeah.
having many people.
So, how many coyotes did you see hunting this year during the day?
I've only been out like probably 4 times during the day and I haven't seen anything.
No, but while you were deer hunting.
All of them deer hunting?
Yeah, because that's how I look at it. It's like, all right, well, this year I think I saw 4 coyotes.
Yeah.
And I sat probably close to like what Tyler was sitting. So,
Yep. I probably saw like 3 or 4.
yeah.
I
Did you see it in
I
time?
called in one to like 75 yards with the bow and never
So
killed
funny. We were talking about how I missed that 10-pointer, right? Remember? Brandon will remember this conversation, but probably about 15 minutes after I killed that, after I missed that 10-pointer twice, and my sight was all messed up. A coyote came down the ridge, and I had like a 14-yard shot. I took the shot and I missed. Well, I missed because my sight was crazy, but yep, I saw 2 this year.
Yeah.
2. And I took a shot at 1 and I completely missed and I should have had him.
They don't like to come out in the open during the daytime.
I saw one that I thought was giant too, but again, like these coyotes can get if it's a cold day too, their hair puffs out like a deer's hair does. And
Once you skin them and see their real body size, it's like...
now let's talk about this. And I've heard if I did shoot a coyote, and I will shoot a coyote, and when I do, I do want to try to eat it. So
Ooh.
I want to hear if any of you guys have
No.
tried that. There are some ways that you can,
Yeah, that's
if
cool.
you look it up, you can figure
watch
out
the
how to
meat.
do it the
You
right
can
way.
watch Meat Eater and skin the back straps out.
You could probably eat a coyote better if you don't have a dog at home.
That's true.
I got a dog at home. I ain't eating a coyote. No
Yeah.
way. I'll let the pelt hang on the wall, but
Yeah. Skin it
I don't
and
know.
chuck it.
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Hey,
Why
if
not?
if I shoot one tomorrow, I'll swing it by your house on the
Yeah.
way home.
Yeah, bring the backstrap. I will cook it.
Dude,
I don't know.
I like to cook what I
the
kill. I
meat's
like to.
so like the meat's a different color too.
I just remember the
What's it
smell.
look
The
like?
smell of that coyote walking up to it too. The smell.
Oh
was,
yeah, I'm sure. It's,
Oh yeah, it's
Dude,
mate.
it
It's
reeked,
mating
man.
season,
He reeked,
so it's
man.
probably
Like,
nasty.
He reeked. I walked up. I'm like, Todd, whoa. He's like, oh yeah. Like reeked.
Yeah.
And again, I've never coyote
Friggin'
hunted, so I
dog
don't know
that
what to
lives
expect,
outside
man. You know,
constantly,
like I have
yeah.
no clue. And
What's
not
the
to mention,
closest? What's the closest you've been to a coyote?
right?
45 yards.
He dropped
50
on a
yards?
pond too, so we're trying not to fall through the water and stuff. And it was insane.
Yeah,
what does the color look like
it's like
of the meat? Just super
it's
purple.
like bluish purple. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
weird. It's not meat.
But then again, there's people who say like,
I mean, hey, if you cook it,
mountain
if you had a dinner and you had meat on the table, I was gonna eat it, but
yeah. And
you better not tell them.
I wouldn't even tell you.
Yeah,
Just tell me
until
it's
I'm
chicken,
home.
man. Tell me it's chicken. Tell me it's venison.
Don't tell me till I'm an hour away because I'll turn that truck around.
I've heard freaking mountain lion's good. A lot of people don't eat it, but it's really good if you do it the right way. And of course, we don't know around here, but somebody recently told me that, and a lot of people don't like bear. But
See, I heard bear was really
one of the
good.
best tasting piece of meat I've ever had
That's
was
what I
a
heard.
bear tenderloin, man.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what
I heard
they eat,
bear
too,
was
though.
delicious,
If they're
to be honest.
if they're garbage bear, then no.
Right.
But if
I guess it's
they're
all what they
eating
eat, right?
berries or whatever. Yeah,
That
I've
makes
heard
sense.
like if they're near garbage sites or whatever, they're nasty. But
That makes sense, yeah. What they're eating, I mean,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yep.
I mean, just to see the sophistication of coyote hunting, my one experience, and I'm speaking on one experience, and I am the most beginner coyote hunter you'll ever see because not once have I even researched it. I simply went out with Todd White, and that was that. It is unbelievable. It's a rush. I highly recommend everybody get an opportunity, if given the chance, to just see it happen and hopefully see a coyote come in, because on thermals it was unreal. Seeing them drop after you take your shot, if you hit them, is unreal, and they are tough. I mean, we sit on, everyone sits on this podcast and we talk about how tough like whitetails are and stuff like that. I mean, the coyotes are crazy. I mean, I hit my coyote a few times until he finally dropped. I mean, they're fighters. He wanted to keep going and going and going, and he was a decent sized coyote. Todd said, and I mean, I have no clue what size is. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I had him drop. That's the most important thing. Yeah. But it is crazy. It's crazy.
Are you keeping the pelt from that one or anything?
Yeah.
Or?
So Brandon's got somebody that he works with the
yeah,
pelts
bring
and whatnot.
New Hampshire fur handlers up in New Boston.
Yeah, I mean, those pelts looked awesome.
Up in New
that you
Boston, New
brought.
Hampshire, he'll skin them out for $15, and then you send them out to a tannery for $25, and
Yeah.
you have something that's gonna last a lifetime.
Now, like I remember back in the day, when I was like getting into hunting, I was 10, 12 in my camp, and the guys were talking about you used to be able to get $100 a pelt for coyotes.
yeah, I don't think it's the same thing.
It's not at all
Yeah.
now. Like you can't sell your fur for
I
that
actually
much
heard
money.
that
You
too.
can
No.
sell it, but it's not
Yeah.
like back then. It was $100 a pelt.
$30, $35 maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not the same as it used to be because
Why? Why do you think is?
things are changing.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Things are definitely
I'm sure a lot
changing.
of people don't want coyotes dead.
If you go on the
Yeah.
Mass Wildlife page, they put up a post about breeding coyotes today, and it's just a
I did see they posted
big
something.
fight.
I saw they posted something about coyotes, and I saw that they didn't mention anything about coyote hunting.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
a
it was
big
just-
fight.
Oh, I gotta read that.
I mean, all I have
My
to
first
see.
year that I got into coyote hunting, it was the first seminar for like changing regulations on coyote hunting, and it was that's a whole podcast.
From what to what?
Like,
what do they
we
want?
used to have to not check them in until like 4 days after the season's over. Now it's 48 hours. Wanton waste, you have to use the pelt.
Oh yeah, I saw that. You can't leave them in the woods. You have to bring them.
You can't leave them in the woods unless they have mange, and the fur is useless. But yeah, it's just crazy. They wanted to put regulations to like 2 coyotes a year. It's crazy, dude. It's nuts, and that's like that could be a whole podcast on that whole seminar thing because the biologist was doing some. The coyotes are like you said the other day, like. Or one of the podcasts, they were running right up your driveway in between the trucks.
It was during a
sniffing Neil Pelton's bumper.
Yeah, it was during
probably
a
the deer
fresh
carcass on it.
It was a fresh snow too. Like it was still coming down, and as hunters, we can tell the age of a track.
Well, he had blood in his truck.
Yeah, when I went out there to freaking greet Neil and get him into the garage, there were no tracks in the driveway. Dude. Yeah, we were in there for that one went long. Like me, Neil, and then Pat showed up late. Yeah, we were in there till like 1 a.m. I mean, that was a pretty good time. That was the last time that Jake Bennett was like, dude, what? You're not inviting me to these podcast parties? What's going on? We were in there, recorded about an hour of the podcast, and then when Pat came, we opened the garage doors and went out to go take a piss. And that's when I was like, holy shit, there's a huge dog track right here. Yeah. That's not a domestic, like, what's a domestic dog doing at 10 p.m.? And it went right up the driveway and like around the front of both of our cars. And then you could see where it really did kind of sit right next to the garage door. Like I just picture him sitting there going, all right, let's see what these guys think they know about hunting. Because I hunt deer my whole life and millions of years of,
you see that double drop tine sitting across the street right now.
And it looked like he was just sitting there. Yeah. And he fucking ran off.
See, the thing is, too, like a lot of these antis, like, they're just sitting in their home on their computer. They're not, like, we're in the woods. Us hunters, we're in the woods. We see what goes on. We see, shed hunt. We see the deadheads. We see the bones everywhere. We see what takes place. We're out there.
I mean, even scratch the whole wildlife thing. It's just like livestock. Right. We hunt some farms that farmers will call us up and say, hey, coyotes are in with our cattle. And we'll go hunt the field next to it and not call anything in, and then we'll just go walk by the pasture after, and the freaking 3 or 4 coyotes just chilling in with the cows. It's like,
well, Brand, you have a good story. You and Todd, didn't you take some coyotes in the middle of cow cattle?
So that's basically the part I was talking about. It's a great story. We hunted across. We got a phone call from a cattle farmer, and he's like, "Hey, I got coyotes in with my calves." I'm like, "All right." So we went across the street and called the field, and they're all lighting up in the pasture. So we walk across the street, and
you guys are smoking them, right?
Freaking coyotes everywhere in with the calves.
And weren't you smoking the coyotes in between the calves?
Freaking popping off at them. It's
crazy.
So, but do you think they actually killed any calves in there? Or
he was having harassment. So you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it was just a matter of time before 3 or 4 of them can grab one calf. But there was bulls in there with them, so they were probably still protecting them. But
crazy.
Freaking yotes.
But they had a thing at one of the seminars of sheep out in like the Berkshires that got annihilated by coyotes. You know what I mean? It's just, it happens.
No, of course. Yeah. But as hunters, like, you respect the coyote a little bit. You got to respect them that they're out there hunting, trying to survive. It's their game. Right? Yeah.
They're predators.
But guess what? Like, we're in a freaking hierarchy, and we are a top predator, and we're above the coyote, so you're going to get taken out. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's all part of it. But I do respect the coyote, and that's why I think sometimes when they're in front of me and I just go, all right, I'm going to let that. I'm not going to take a shot at that coyote. Yeah. Go ahead. Whatever. It's to each their own. And, but I do want to go out and experience like a night hunt and all that stuff. It's just a completely different experience. But when I'm out deer hunting, I'm deer hunting. But, man, to extend the season and go out and, like, partake in some coyote hunts, I'd be all for it.
I wish we lived in a more, like, target-rich environment because I'd probably drop deer hunting. If we had, like, a full season with coyotes like they do in the Midwest, man, it's crazy. Out there, they do, like, 20 coyotes a night.
So what is the season in Massachusetts? There is no season, right?
So it opens up the Saturday.
In Vermont, they're
Yeah,
and whatever.
Vermont's
is all-
24/7.
Yeah, open season. Yep.
No time. You can hunt 24/7, 365.
Yeah.
Massachusetts is sun up or a half hour before sunrise to midnight. Saturday before when like all of deer season opens.
Oh, so they got a lot of different.
Yeah, until like the first week in March. Depends. March 7th.
But you
8th.
can't hunt after midnight.
No, you can't hunt after midnight.
Huh.
Vermont's 24/7. Most
Yep.
of the states are in the country are the same thing.
Yeah. Because they want to keep coyotes down.
But, yeah.
Yeah.
I wish we lived in a more target-rich environment because, like, the guys in the Midwest, man, they hunt all night and they'll put
What are New
14
Hampshire's?
15, 16 in the truck in one night.
What are New Hampshire's laws, do you know? Because you're
I
only
think-
a few minutes away.
Well, I think New Hampshire is, like, they have a night season, but during the day it's open year-round. But I think their night season's pretty short.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be from, like, January 1st to, like, March. But they can run, like, lights. They can run IR with night vision scopes, but...
Interesting, man. It's
Yeah,
interesting.
Massachusetts got some pretty strict laws.
Yeah.
Some pretty strict laws.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if Mass Wildlife will, open the doors and, allow me in there to do a podcast, I would absolutely love to do a podcast in there and get a lot of questions.
They say they don't affect the fawn population, that's for sure, and that was one.
I think that's the only population they do affect.
Pretty much.
They're not taking down
Say a
mature
lot of
deer.
it.
They took a Delaware study in Delaware where they studied the no predators and how many fawns died. Obviously, fawns die every season from drowning
All
or
kinds of stuff.
Yeah, from the cold or whatever. You know what I mean? And they did a study during I think it was one of the flood seasons they had, one of the hurricanes or whatever, and that's the season they went off of for the study. Yeah, it's pretty funny. They had high waters.
I think bears. You hear the Big Woods Bucks guys say that bears take down more fawns than coyotes.
Oh,
if you're in an area where there's
absolutely.
bears, it's
Well, just look at the deer population from Zone 8 to Zone 1 compared to 10 through 14.
yeah,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's totally different.
yeah,
That's why they're... Yeah.
yeah. And what's the only difference? There's no bears. Yeah.
Well, there's no bears,
there's
some
more encroaching now into Zone 10.
but the deer are hugging up the houses. That's why they're being protected. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Coyotes aren't going to hammer them as much. You get more rabbits down here than we do out in Western Mass. It's just totally different.
Yep.
It's crazy.
yeah. So the rabbit population, if that's booming, so is the coyote population, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and there's
You talk to
rabbits.
you talk to old timers out by where I live, and it's like in the 80s they were running dogs for rabbits and hammering rabbits. You know what I mean? But now they freaking go out and smoke cigars and just let their dogs run because there's no rabbits. And it could be the owls or more owls, more hawks, more eagles.
Yeah,
But you know what I mean?
there's a lot to an ecosystem.
Geodes
Yeah.
too. Yep.
But it's the yotes too. You know what I mean? I have videos of 6, 7, 8 by my house on a regular
Yeah,
with no bait, with no nothing.
yeah.
I noticed that they were back there because of a run that goes right across the street from my house in the snow.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of coyotes. But the Mass Wildlife says we're saturated. Any population that's saturated, is that good?
No, saturation.
Saturation is no good.
Yeah.
But they'll tell you that we're saturated, but we don't need the season to be extended because we're not going to knock them down.
I would love to see a podcast with Brandon and a rep.
No.
from Mass Wildlife.
Yeah, no,
That'd be
me
great.
too. Actually, that's
That'd
one
be
of the
killer, man.
one of the things I wanted to do.
I did so
is-
much research
think
after that
that's-
first
no,
seminar, and it was like,
I mean,
man,
Brandon, you're so knowledgeable about this.
I get fired
stuff,
up when
you
it-
know what I mean?
Listen, here's the thing about doing a podcast and doing something where it's like you want to have both sides. If it's a podcast that's like about a debate, you want to have both sides of a debate.
Yeah.
I really do want to have a big anti-hunter on a podcast with another outspoken hunter.
Yeah.
And I want to mediate between an anti and
Yeah.
somebody who's got really good arguments on both sides, and I want to have that argument. I also would love to see, Mass Wildlife rep versus somebody like you who's got an opposing, because that is how you draw out conversation and you get the best results out of things. The problem is government agencies and anybody who's like has to report into somebody, or they're elected, or any of that stuff, like they don't ever want to have an opposition in a long form, drawn out situation like this, right? But that is how you actually can make some changes happen and get the best conversation out of folks. It's like you want to have two opposing opinions and then let them talk it out.
Yeah. Well, that was like one of the things like we asked them at the seminars was, why are you pulling a study from a different state? Why aren't you doing your own study?
Yeah.
When are you guys going to collar coyotes and figure out their movement or whatever and do your own study? And there's no funding for it. Then why are you holding any of this to begin with? You know what I mean? Like, if you're not going to do if you're not going to do your own research,
and if there's no funding for it, I mean, you could easily you could charge, not that I really would advocate for it, but you can charge extra for a coyote license.
Well,
whatever, get a little bit of funding.
In Maine, they charge $5 to hunt at night.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm pretty sure people that are paying $4,000 for thermals are going to pay an extra $5 to hunt them at night.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And listen, this is Massachusetts. We're used to being taxed on everything.
And our hunting licenses are cheap anyways, and that's what the talk is now to up the license price, and it's like, it is what it is, you know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, but I'd love to...
Yeah, it'd be nice if Mass Wildlife would get back to you and actually have a talk.
Both of those things are on... Well, so to be fair, they've gotten back to me, and they're completely open and wanting to do a podcast. They were just asking about my protocols against COVID and referencing essentially that we probably can't open up Mass Wildlife's headquarters because it's closed to the public. But again, I would say I'm not the public. If you're inviting a member of the media, which
you're
you could
media,
say that I am at this point, like whatever, like we're going in there to have a conversation, and I'm sure there's a conference table in there that looks something like this. It's a long, big table, and we can socially distance and do it there. But I hope all this stuff is past us pretty soon. And
me too. It'd be nice if it was done in April so we can have public land.
I agree.
In the middle of the week.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, great podcast. I think this one went pretty long.
Definitely pretty long.
Covered a lot of subjects and stuff. So
that was good.
That was fun.
Have you guys back on again, and do some turkey hunting. You guys are going to kill some turkeys this spring. Yeah. Go to Respond to the Call Productions on YouTube. Search that out. Give them a subscribe. They're going to be putting out a lot of content this year.
Yeah, moving forward, we'll have a lot of content.
Yeah, we got some trial runs going, but...
And again, like this whole New England family, like there's not a lot of content up here, so like we just want to push out more content. There is so much room for it.
Oh, for sure.
If you guys want to create content, reach out to these guys, reach out to me, like whatever. We can, there's even room for more podcasts. Like, come on, like we want to extend this whole content creation and the love of hunting and get that out to everybody. So,
I mean, there's nothing better than talking hunting over a couple beers, and if you don't drink, a couple cigars, and if you don't smoke, just a couple laughs, man. I mean,
exactly.
It's fun. It's for everybody. There's not one person that doesn't fit in. We all fit in. Yeah. You know, it's like I said earlier, it's all about making memories.
The hunting community is incredible.
It is.
Most people are going to welcome you with open arms. So
100%.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks a lot, guys. That was
Thanks
a lot of fun.
Thanks, Pat.
Yep. Thanks for listening to the Hunt Suburbia podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. We're going to release an episode every single Sunday throughout the season, throughout the entire year, and we will possibly be releasing some bonus episodes here and there throughout the week as people, come in freshly off a bow kill and tell their stories. We hope that happens throughout the season. There might be weeks where you get 2 or 3 bonus episodes. You might not get one for a couple of weeks, but there will be some bonus episodes. But you can count on us every single Sunday to have a new interview on throughout the season. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Big bucks I've been dreaming often, every night till I'm in a coffin. Vermont woods to the burbs of Boston, I'm looking for a tree to get lost in. Crisp mornings, little dust in the snow. Quality time, just me and my bow. Fall evenings, I know just where to go for some quality times for me and my bow. it's just me and my